Hey everyone, Sharkheart here with a quick guide about how to beat the Lunar Mode of Imaginarium Theater. The first thing to note is that this endgame mode is just really terrible, and Hoyoverse seems to insist on making things worse and worse and worse in the endgame, so if you don't have 28 or 32 characters that are needed to take on this challenge, don't sweat it. I even had to build my Barbara and Candace to level 70 and ascend them in order to attempt this, but I was able to get all 12 Stella and the maximum rewards, so I want to break down the strategies that I used so that you can beat this very annoying endgame mode. One of the first things that can make or break a run is picking the right character. Furina is the most important character to pick, and if you don't have Furina, then use one of your friend's Furinas. And if none of your friends have Furina, then you can join our Discord and ask someone who has Furina if you can add them as a friend so you can use her for theater. The link for our Discord will be in the description. But if you already have Furina, then the next character I would try and borrow from a friend would be a well-built Navia. Innefa and Neuvillette are also strong choices, but Navia makes the geo-propaganda stages so much easier, and fewer people have good geo characters, so she's my second highest recommendation under Furina. Now let's cover the strategy for each of the stages. For stages 1 and 2, you'll want to use a combination of either Itto and Goro or Veressa and Yansan. Even though the trial characters are supposed to be buffed, they're still bad, so if both your Veressa and Itto are trial characters, use Itto since he's weaker and not quite as useful throughout the rest of your run. Whether you choose Itto and Goro or Veressa and Yansan, just throw in whatever other random characters you have and save your stronger characters for later, particularly Yelan. When you get to stage 3, you'll either want to use a plunge character or a Geo Claymore character. You can either use Itto and Goro or Veressa and Yansan, whichever combo you did not use previously. And if you happen to get either Noelle or Navia, they both do really well here, but I would not use Navia right now, you're going to want to save her for later. After beating stage 3, you'll get your very first Arcana challenge. You need to beat 17 enemies, but every time you do, the time to beat the stage ticks down. Any built damage dealer can clear the stage, but Neuvillette does incredibly well here. You do get an extra character for beating the stage, but honestly, it's not worth it to try it so early. I recommend doing this Arcana challenge on stage 8 or higher because you have a lot of buff cards by that point, and you also have a much better idea of what teams and characters you can use for the final few stages. Stage 4 can be a total cakewalk if you get the right enemy, aka the Secret Source Automaton Hunter Seeker. All you need to do for the stage is make sure the enemy focuses on you and not the monolith. Make sure you don't select the Elite Challenge for the stage either, because if you want the Stella, you're going to waste good characters here because the enemies rush towards the monolith and hit it really hard. So instead, just do the regular challenge, and it is advised to bring your weakest characters here to do just enough so that the enemies focus on you and not the monolith, and then you just run out the clock and beat the stage and get the Stella. Stage 5 can be pretty easy depending on the enemies you get. If you get the Hydro Mimics, Auroran basically solos the entire thing, but if you have a chance to fight things like Ruin Guards, it's also pretty easy. The enemies here don't have too much health and it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but if you run into a Ruin Grader that runs away from you, you may want to reset because it can just waste too much time. Stage 6 has you fight the Dorito boss, and you'll need an Electro character to break its invisibility. Fischl and Auroran are great here, but Veressa works really well here too. Stage 7 is just another enemy stage. It shouldn't be too difficult, but keep in mind you'll want to save the good characters for stages 8, 10, and the second Arcana challenge, so don't use your best damage dealers here. Stage 8 needs either a Geo team or a Claymore character that can break the boss's shield relatively easily. Zhongli's Hold Elemental skill does really well against the boss's shield, so use him if you have him. And if you have Navia, she really shines here as you can start with her burst to build up your Geo Shrapnel while also breaking the boss's shield relatively quickly. Just make sure that you can maintain the Crystallize reaction so you can get enough Shrapnel for Navia after her burst ends. Stage 9 will require you to defeat a few elite enemies. This is generally not that hard, but the stage may recommend certain elements to clear it, and you may feel like you're going to be forced to use certain characters. But honestly, if your characters are decently built, especially with all the buffs that we get at this point, you can usually just brute force the stage and get the Stella no problem. The second Arcana challenge has you fighting the Jade Plume Terror Shroom, but you're going to need some strong Electro characters for this boss. And if you do happen to have either Lauma or Baiju, they can also be great here because them applying Quicken will speed up the rate at which you can stun the Onion Emu. This is typically the hardest part of the theater run, so if you can do this stage and get the Stella, you're golden, even if you have to reset it several times. Stage 10 is the Cuckoosaur boss, and you'll definitely want to have Farina for this fight if you want the Stella. Her pets can hit the Cuckoosaur in the air and break its shield faster than anyone else, so at the start of the fight just use Farina's skill and then don't use anyone else's abilities. Once the Cuckoosaur falls and it's on the ground, just unleash everything you have on it and you should clear it with relative ease. Besides using the right characters on the right stages, getting the right buff cards can make a world of difference for your theater run. I recommend going for the Hydro and Electro combo because it's a very good card and a lot more people have Hydro and Electro characters than they do have Geo characters, so you can really take advantage of this buff. And let's be honest, outside of shield breaking, the Geo characters really aren't offering much here. As for which specific Hydro and Electro combo you'll want to go for the buff card that gives you the Drift Thunder Blitz Core. It basically summons a little Electro turret that shoots 3 Electro bullets every 2 seconds. And when you max out this card, you get 2 of these Blitz Cores, so it's like having a machine gun official that's permanently on your team. Finally, you'll want to save your Vigor for at least a few characters because they're basically needed on specific stages. You want to save at least 1 Vigor point on Farina for the final stage, otherwise the Cuckoosaur on stage 10 will be a big problem and just take way too long. You'll want to save a good Electro damage dealer for stage 6 and also the second Arcana challenge. And you'll also want to save at least 1 Vigor point for a Geo Claymore character or Zhongli for stage 8 against the Geo Legatus boss. These tips will help you conquer this really annoying theater. Hopefully I am not the only one who hates it, and I wish Hoyo would make an endgame mode that makes players feel a lot more engaged and excited, rather than feeling punished for not having a third of the characters in the game built and ready. Though let me know what you think, and if you have any extra tips, feel free to share them in the comments below. That'll be it for this one everyone, stay jawsome, and I can't wait to see you on stream.